In 1867, Saigo Takamori led an army of the Satsuma Choshu alliance and defeated the shogun's army near Kyoto. The Satsuma Choshu armies marched from the old capital, Kyoto, to Edo. They renamed the city Tokyo, or Eastern Capital, and they brought with them the 16-year-old boy emperor. Newly installed in power, the emperor was renamed Meiji, or Enlightened Rule. He became the symbol for a new Japan that would transform itself in 40 years, from a country of rice paddies to a modern military and economic power that could stand up to the West.
It was the emperor's government, but the governing was really done by a very small group of young samurai. Most of them were in their early 30s and late 20s. An amazing group of bright samurai bureaucrats. They started from scratch with the task of building a whole nation.
These are young men who essentially usurp their position. They control the seals of the Emperor Meiji and therefore are able to issue orders in his name.
Once they are there, and they have a new capital, and they have an emperor who's only 16 years old. He's not someone that they can do too much with. He doesn't know how to ride a horse. But they, in the name of the emperor, begin to think of their new government. And from 1868 to 1873, a transformation takes place that no one had envisaged in that form. And the first few years were very uncertain.
The Meiji leaders faced a nation in chaos. The countryside erupted in spontaneous outbreaks of hysteria. Only a year before the Restoration, thousands of people had danced into Edo, tossing banknotes in the air and yelling, "Ejanaika, Ejanaika," meaning, who cares, or what the hell. It was a bizarre reaction by Japan's common folk to the confusion in the country. To bring order to anarchy was the key challenge to the Meiji bureaucrats.
Well, these young samurai, Ito, Saigo, Okubo, really had to start building the whole administration. They had to have a finance ministry, a tax policy, a defense policy. They had to have an agriculture policy. They were starting from scratch and working out by themselves the mechanism of government for a huge country.
What happened was that all of these reforms, which were highly forward-looking in terms of 19th century politics and society, were made in Tokyo on paper. That is to say, they were proclaimed, let there be compulsory education. And you, the villagers, will pay for it. Let there be a national army. You, the villagers, will run the draft system.
Farmers were outraged by higher tariffs and what they called the blood tax. Government officials taking their sons off the land to serve in the army. Their fury exploded in spontaneous rebellions across the country, challenging the program of the Meiji leaders.
People were very upset, very disturbed. They could solve the farmers' problem rather easily. You could cut taxes and keep that sector happy. But there was a wider problem beyond that. How are they going to give everybody in this country a sense of participation, a sense of citizenship, a sense that they were part of the reform movement?
The first hardest thing they had to do was to destroy their own class. They had to destroy the samurai who had lived a privileged existence for hundreds of years as a non-productive class. The Meiji oligarchs suspended their stipends in rice and ultimately compelled the samurai to go into business for themselves.
Many samurai couldn't make the transition. Poor and unemployed, they bitterly resented their loss of privilege. General Saigo, who'd led the army that toppled the shogun, wanted to preserve the samurai class. He argued for a plan to employ samurai by invading Korea. When Meiji's more cautious leaders overruled him, he left the government. When they abolished samurai stipends, Saigo went to war against the government he'd helped to establish. The Satsuma Rebellion marked the last stand of the way of the samurai. In the greatest battle, Saigo's colorful samurai laid siege to Kumamoto Castle. It was guarded by a new Meiji invention, uniformed conscript soldiers. Saigo called them dirt farmers, but now they had the right to bear arms. As the war raged on, Saigo's forces dwindled to a few hundred men. Saigo beat a bitter retreat to his home in Kagoshima, where, in true samurai fashion, he committed seppuku, ritual suicide. Saigo's death was the death of the samurai class. It also marked the true beginning of the Meiji transformation.